All right, so this is Table 2's proposal for how to fix Social Security. First off, we're going to hit on the benefit adequacy choices. The first thing that we really liked, the credit for childcare, up to 5 years of childcare credits at half the wage while a child is under 6. Our rationale for that was that, as we saw earlier, the average, usually there are 3.3 workers who are supporting one person on Social Security, but that's going to fall to 2. So this would help to encourage childbirth, child rearing. So what we were trying to do really with this policy was to push it so more people would have more children and create more workers to feed in the Social Security system. Going hand in hand with that is the reinstatement of student benefits until age 22 for children of disabled or deceased workers. What this does is give children the ability to go to college because, as you know, most people graduate around the age of 22 or so. So this gives them time to go through college and to hopefully become more productive workers in the workforce. And the other benefit increase we did was a 2% benefit increase across the board. Now for our choices, now for our solvency choices, let's see. Gradually, we are going to invest 15% of equity funds in equities. Our rationale for that is that over the long term, equities average an 8 to 9% return per year, as opposed to right now we're on government bonds, which are a very low return. So over the long haul, we wanted to boost the interest that's the surplus is making, and we figured 15%, that is a low enough total that it's not, if we have another year like 2008, it's not going to completely kill Social Security. But at the same time, we're getting a little more return for our budget surplus in the Social Security. That's AD. Gradually, we are also going to restore the cap of 90% earnings, so raising the tax cap a little bit. So basically what that means is that we are going to, okay, instead of having the benefits capped at, what is it, 106,800, you are going to make, people pay taxes on, what, 90% of all of their earnings, is that correct?
It's currently like 83%.
Okay, it's currently 83%, so we're going to raise the cap to 90. So everyone would be paying a little bit more into the system. What we were trying to do, obviously, wealthier people are going to pay a little bit more, but we were trying to be equitable in terms of making sure that everyone helps to fix the problem. So we're restoring the 90% cap of earnings rather than the 83% that is currently. Also, we are going to raise by 1/20th of 1% every year the contribution rate. So by the year 2034, everyone would be paying in an additional, let's see, that would be 2%. So it would be 8.2%, or it'd be a total of, oh yeah, sorry, 14.4%, I believe. Is that correct? No, 14.6.
Can't do math.
Okay. Anyway, we would raise by 2% what everyone pays into Social Security, but it would be a very gradual raise so employers and employees alike could kind of prepare for it. And it's going to be a total of 1% increase for both employers and employees, so we figured that that was gradual enough and minimal enough that you would not see a huge hit on jobs. Let's see, and our last solvency choice we were going to do was speed up the rise to 67 for full retirement benefits and then up it 1 month every 2 years to age 68, so you would be able to receive full benefits at age 68 eventually. Raising the retirement age 1 year isn't too bad, and it gets you almost it lowered, our savings is almost 50 or 0.5, so that's a pretty solid savings. And with people living longer, working longer, we felt that it was pretty reasonable. What that gives us is a net balance of 0.8% surplus. Now we can use some of that surplus actually because one of the discussions at our table was whether or not blue-collar workers should be able to retire earlier than white-collar workers, because obviously a 69-year-old would have a easier time working an office job than on the construction site. So some of that surplus would likely be used to help blue-collar workers retire at maybe a slightly earlier age. So that is Group 2's presentation and Table 3.
Wow. I'm not saying all that. Okay, Group 3, we have decided to, first of all, to increase benefits for adequacy, we want to have a future taxpayers or credit for childcare benefit, because it secures the taking care of the children that will soon be our future taxpayers. So that's number 3. Then we decided to have a special minimum for 30 years work, 125% of poverty at full benefit age of 30 years. Thirdly, we went to the student benefits to reinstate the student benefits until age 22, because we just considered the demographics of everyone in the room. I guess excluding myself. Then we went across the board. We were able to increase everyone's benefits by 5% because we did the math and we can. Then we move on to the solvency. We've increased taxes. We've raised them 1/20% until starting in 2015 and going to and through 2034. At which point we would end the cap and count earnings towards benefits. We would also like to extend coverage to cover newly hired state and local employees. And with that, that would leave us with 0.26% above payroll tax. So that's pretty good. It's more than him.
Good work, good work. All right, for Table 3, we'll talk about the benefit adequacy choices first. We chose 2A to pay widowed spouses 75% benefit with a cap of the average earner benefit. We just weren't as interested in helping out the maximum earner benefits. We thought this was it's a smaller increase, but we chose to go that way as well, mainly because it's a very disadvantaged group, and if we could, we thought it would be a good change to make. And the next one we chose was the credit for childcare, number 3. So up to 5 years of childcare credits at half the average wage while a child is under 6. Another thing that we pointed out about these changes, we thought it would be good for the political process as well. If we're taking some stuff away, maybe making some unpopular choices, helping out widows and parents, helping people pay for childcare is an important thing. So people like that stuff, whereas they don't like the other stuff quite as much. And for solvency choices, we chose 8C to end the cap and count earnings with a flatter formula. This would have, it's projected to have a pretty big impact. It might not be that popular, but so we would count earnings with a flatter formula. So it would change the current formula that's based on the AMI, the average index monthly earnings. And so it's outlined, a proposal of a modified formula is outlined on page 17 in the fixing report. And so it would basically just change, maybe after a modified formula might apply the 15% bracket up to the old cap, and then a smaller replacement after that. It proposes 3% of earnings above that. And so that would have a pretty big impact. So, and also after that, we chose choice 10 to treat salary reduction plans like 401ks. And so it would just tax those as well. So, and that ended up with a net balance of 0.12. So.
We are combined teams 1 and 5. I think we sort of messed this organization up. Sorry, Amy. So I don't know how you want to do that in your Excel sheet. But seeming as we did squeeze our way up here, we came up with 3 benefit adequacy choices, including option 5. I'm just going to go over them all, and then we can go through our rationale. Option 5, option 2A, and option 6B. Option 5, we chose the student, to reinstate the student benefits until age 22. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And we chose that because we thought it would be best to create growth and create investment in underprivileged groups.
And although we did learn that it mostly helps those who are in lower economic statuses, versus those who are higher economic status. It does give those who are lower a chance to probably get a chance to go to community college and things of that nature instead of private colleges. So it does give them some opportunity to advance, even if it's a technical college.
And with option 2A, which is pay widowed spouse 75% benefit with cap at average earner benefit. I'm trying to think. Is it 2A or 2B? Oh, sorry, 2B, with cap at maximum earner benefit. The reason we chose maximum earner benefit is so that it did help the more underprivileged and the middle age, so that you could get, there's no cap as far as how much people are getting back. And 6B is a 5% overall benefit increase, and I'm pretty sure we just threw this in because we had room for it.
Yeah, we also thought that it would be better to give, let's say if you had $1, give 5% of that dollar now in helps of the future instead of giving a large percent now. So it looks out for your future, your long-term future instead of short-term future.
Keeps in mind the tradition of Social Security. And our total adequacy choices plus deficit, was 3.12. And solvency choices, I'm going to go through the same way. We had 7C, 11A, and 13B. 7C is the raise by 1/20th of 1% a year Social Security contribution rate increase. We just think it would be a lot easier if we increased Social Security and contributions over 20 years. Because we need to be adding more to it.
And also it starts in 2015, so it gives time for the recession to kind of go away before there is an increase at all.
With the estate tax, which is 11A, dedicate the estate tax to Social Security. There are a couple pros and cons with this one. As far as we could recall, estate tax goes to states in general. And so we know there are a couple states without income tax. And so, but we think this could benefit the citizens of the state more than the state itself. And also it's unearned money. And the 13B is a 5% legacy tax on AGI over $250,000 for couples and $125,000 for individuals. Did you want to? That one, I believe we chose because it's feasible for everyone to give a little bit more, especially in the tax bracket of having more money to give. So a bit of progressive tax reforms.
Great. Thank you, guys. If we can have tables 6 through 10 head up. And because we've covered a wide variety of proposals here, if the tables that are presenting have ones that are similar, we've heard childcare a lot, we've heard legacy tax, estate tax. If they have similar reasons for choosing those proposals, if you could just say that you're choosing that proposal and then move on to the next, we're kind of running short on time. Okay, table 6.
Okay.
Hey guys, can we listen to table 6, please? Thank you.
All right, we basically spent our entire time debating the solvency choices because we didn't have anything that we could agree was ideal, really. But we started off with deciding that we wanted to raise the cap to 90% gradually. So that would get you about a third of the way. And then we invented our own with 7B to, I believe that is to raise the Social Security contributions but to do it by a third. So rather than by raising it to 7.2 and then 8.2, to raise it by 0.4, and then that would get you another third of the way. And then also to add a 3% legacy tax, and that would get you to 2.01. And then we would like to take that 0.01 and put it towards a general raise in the benefits, so everyone gets about, I don't know, $3 more. And we also talked a lot about what we didn't want to do, and one of the things we talked about was not putting the estate tax in as an option, because we didn't want to divert income that was going to general revenue into the other options for Social Security, because we feel like we would rather have that be available to pay down the debt if people want to do that. So, yeah.
I guess I have a lot of notes here, but I'll try to keep it brief. We also focused on the solvency side. We started with our values, with what we wanted to propose, and we basically stuck with solvency because it's very hard to increase benefits when you're dealing with a system that is facing solvency problems, and on the other hand, it's politically unpopular to decrease benefits. So we just tried to focus on the solvency side of it. We wanted to balance out sort of the spirit and interests of Social Security, which on the one hand, it's a social program. So paying in and getting out what you pay in is not the necessarily the chief concern of the program. It's a social program, but on the other hand, Social Security was developed with this notion that everyone pays into the system and everyone is entitled to the system. And then finally, we juggled the political realities of a situation, which is you're always dealing with different demographics whenever you decide to either take more money from them or give them more money. I guess just to quickly run through what we did, we decided that we wanted to, the first thing we actually focused on was the estate tax, because we feel like this is a good way to pay down the legacy costs, but we didn't want to put the whole estate tax towards it for reasons that was just mentioned, mainly that a lot of that money could go to the deficit. So we actually decided to implement take half of the estate tax towards general revenue. The second thing was we focused on the fact that everyone pays into the Social Security system, and so it's sort of equitable to sort of raise on everyone. But we wanted to do this very gradually, considering what the economic times currently. So we want to raise, we're 7C basically, and at pretty much face value. So those two get us up to 82% of the decrease in the shortfall. And then we came up with our own solution, which is to, because of the growing wealth disparity, the problem with the system has a lot to do with that the middle class is sort of getting carved out, and so less people are paying into the system. And so we sort of wanted to correct that by raising the cap. And what we would do is we would, I guess, double the cap for what it is now, up to 200,000, and then implement a progressive tax above 106,000 where it's currently at. So what would happen is it's sort of like a secondary tax. Everyone pays up to 106, and then it keeps going. It's a progressive tax, and that should make up the shortfall and actually probably put us back into surplus so we could increase benefits. But like I said, we're worried about solvency right now. So.
Hello. Some of our, could you hear the beginning part? Okay, some of our recommendations, because there were, many of them were already mentioned, so we said 8B. And then we also said 11B with the estate tax. I come from a very responsible table, and so we had already dismissed many of the recommendations proposed in the packet for various reasons. And the estate tax, we did have some troubles with. I wanted to do the less responsible option of just assuming a 6.4% real return on equities, which was one of the options. But like I said, my table is very responsible, and so we had to take into account that that isn't necessarily, that wouldn't be guaranteed. And so with those two solvency choices, we had a total of 2.29, and then last minute, we decided to add, we chose benefit adequate choice number 3, the credit for childcare, for reasons previously mentioned. And also, although my table was very impartial, we are also an all-female table, so it does fit well. That's it.
Okay, as far as benefits, we chose childcare and student help or students with deceased parents because we thought that would bring about the biggest long-term, I don't know, progress with this deficit. As far as solvency, we figured we would restore the cap to 90%. We would go ahead and choose number 9, cover newly hired state and local employees. States are already having their own private plans, so we'd figure might as well expand that out to the general public. We kind of figured the legacy tax would be a fundamental factor in this whole deficit problem, so we went ahead and chose the legacy tax. At the same time, it covers 6/10 of the deficit, so that was our main reasoning for choosing that. And we chose 14B to gradually invest 40% of the fund assets. We just kind of wanted to stay away or do something better with the surplus instead of just having it go back into the government or into trust funds.
Do you know which 14B?
Oh yeah, 5.4% real return. Let me see. Oh, second. It's the middle one.
Okay. Our approach was to first find ways to raise the money, and especially since we had several ideas of ways to fix the benefits, and we felt we ought to do something to improve the benefits because this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to actually change the way things are done. The solvency choices that we made, we chose 8C to end the cap and count the earnings with a flatter formula. And the concept between that, in doing that, Social Security is looked at by many as an insurance program. And we recognize that it's part in insurance, but it's also got a little bit of a welfare aspect to it. But allowing, as we increased the cap, allowing at least part of it to go toward an increase in benefits, even if it's a very tiny portion, seemed to keep that concept that this is an insurance program in place, and that's part of what gives Social Security its dignity. The second thing we did is we said that when Social Security was originally passed, the average lifespan was 65. And now that the average lifespan is in the 80s, we have to recognize that. It was recognized only once since Social Security has been passed. We ought to do something, even if it's fairly small, to raise it further. And so we chose 16A, which raised it to 68. The combination of those two far exceeded the amount we needed to keep it solvent. And so we wanted to make good use of the money. And the first thing we did is we took 1B, which is a uniform dollar increase at age 85. The concept behind that is severalfold. First of all, as people get older, they tend to outlive their savings. People don't target to make their savings last till they're 100. Making their savings last till they're 85, which is even slightly longer than the lifespan, is not an unreasonable way of people to approach things, spending out their savings. Remember, Social Security is supposed to have the 3 pieces, one of which is savings, but since we don't know how long we're going to live, most people will run out of money if they live too long. So having a safety net when they hit 85 by giving them a boost in the income seemed like a prudent thing to do. We were concerned that the average, that widows were we're taking a cut to 50%, they still have to maintain the house they're living in. Their income, their needs don't go down quite that much. So we chose 2A, the widow's benefit. We also chose 5 for students to help people stay in school, be able to afford schools better. And we had, at that point, we had money left over, and we had one other concern. The concern was, since we're raising the retirement age, those people who need to retire earlier were going to take a bigger cut. And we could offset that, plus we could make the whole system more popular by giving a benefit increase. And we chose, we actually started with 6C, but we had more than enough to pay for it, so we gave a 2.5% benefit increase, which is 3.7, which is 0.375. That still left us with a surplus of 0.035, and we were able to do the things with the money we saved.
Great, thanks. And if the last 4 tables could come up. And we're running short on time, so if the tables can just say which policies they did by number, sorry, but we're like 10 minutes short on time now.
So for our group, table number 11, we decided for solvency choices that we were going to do 8C to end the cap and count earnings at a flatter formula, and 11A, dedicating the estate tax to Social Security. And then for our benefit adequacy choices, we picked 2A, the paying widowed spouses 75% benefit with a cap at average earner benefits, and number 3, the credit for childcare, and we wound up with a net balance of 0.38.
So we already heard all except for one of our choices, I believe. So I'm just going to go ahead and say the overall package that we were trying to create, focusing on increasing the pool of money or the amount of finances available in the future. So that was 4A and 5, 7C, 8D, 9, and 16C, excuse me. And the one that I don't believe anyone else had is, if you do the other 16s that were available, you would have to kind of have a classification that would separate blue collar and white collar workers. And so that would be more complex. And so if you gradually just do that, 16C would cover the same thing. And then with the 0.3% remaining balance, we were thinking about doing the possible 2% increase across the board.
So I'm representative from Table 12. Real quick, I'll just say that one of the main goals of our group was to secure financial solvency for Social Security while ensuring that we don't see a lot of benefit cuts, because the overall consensus of our group was that we were opposed to that. With that said, in terms of the benefit adequacy choices, we decided we wanted 4B, plus we also wanted to include in that, that's the special minimum for 30-year workers. We wanted to include in that adult caregivers, so someone who's taking care of their elderly parents, something like that. We estimated that would come out to like 0.35. We wanted 1B, so we wanted to have a dollar increase at age 85. 2A, so for spouses. Number 5, for student benefits, although there was talk in our group about cost shifting that through the FAFSA report. And then in terms of solvency choices, we had 8B, so we wanted to end the cap but have it count towards people's earnings. We had 7C, and then we wanted to reduce benefits by 3% over a 6-year span beginning in the year 2015.
I'm representing Table 14. Our main perspective was to try to help particularly vulnerable populations, but establishing solvency at the same time. To that effect, we selected 2A, 3, 4A, and 5 for adequacy options, and options 8B, 9, and 11A for solvency options. And 9 primarily because we assume that states will probably end up opting to have their employees participate in Social Security, especially after what we've seen with Maine. Thanks.
Thank you all. Now if I could get this right. Come on. Okay, so these are the options we selected. As you can tell, it seems like there's a lot on adding benefits. But these are our policies. When we do a little report on this, we'll share all of that with all of you. So congratulations on working to develop your own solutions to the issues of Social Security solvency and adequacy. Please join me in thanking our table experts and table leaders.